The whole world is monotone. Yellow, white, that's about it. Blue. Wait, oh shit, I'm reading this backwards. Oh my god. The whole world is monotone. I'm a cat after all, so I can only see a few colors. Blue, yellow, white, that's about it. Everyone is the same sort of color. The only differences are the length of their snouts and the patterns of their fur. And let me tell you something, it is dull. At least it was until he arrived. Monotone Blue is a sweet little wholesome story about two gay boys, and the story is created by Nagabi. And I enjoyed my read throughout it, so I decided to create a little video essay that's also a review. And we're also going to be analyzing the pages and how it helps tell the story. So I'm doing this for a class project, so let's see what grade I get. So the book is centered all around Hachi the cat and Aoi the lizard. Is that when Hachi is going on and on about how boring the world is, the first page is pretty boring looking too. It's just your basic comic, black and gray, no colors, nothing really pops other than the fact they're all animals. But the second page, when Hachi's describing how Aoi changes everything, Aoi literally changes the format of the page. He fills it all up. From there, the entire classroom just starts freaking out because they've never seen a lizard before, and apparently they're really rare. But Hachi doesn't really seem to care. In fact, he doesn't really seem to care about anything, and they show that. Aren't you curious? Nah. Why not? Come on. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go! Bro, quit wasting your breath. He never changes his mind when he's like this. If something doesn't grab Haji's attention, he won't even twitch his tail. So Haji's pretty much the emo kid in the back of the class that doesn't really do anything or care about his grades or anything. While always the exact opposite, who's the just the nerdy nerd and is super proper and all of that. So Hachi actually gets to the point where he actually starts hating on Aoi because everybody's expecting him to act a certain way or like change how he like currently acts. But then he catches Aoi in a room, and you can tell this is a really important moment for the comic because it again changes the style. As like every page had a bunch of words on it, this one has absolutely zero. It wants you to focus on just the pictures at hand. And one is Hachi's reaction, which is super realistic compared to the other drawings that are more cartoony and like cutesy, but it also puts Hachi's tale in super realism because it really wants to drive home to the reader that like this is super duper duper important moment. This changes everything. This is why you're reading. So from there, Hachi just starts staring down his tail, and he's literally stuck in his own head in just pure amazement. He can't hear anything that Aoi's saying. He's like, get away from me, you're weird, please back up. And Hachi isn't hearing any of it. All he's hearing is cobalt blue. From there, it's just reiterated that Aoi and Hachi have absolutely nothing in common. They have completely different worlds, completely different mindsets, and completely different ways of going about things. And the only thing that brings them together is Hachi's just attraction towards his body. When Hachi's properly introducing himself to Aoi, but Aoi already knows Hachi's name but isn't willing to say anything about it, and it shows a panel of Hachi's paper within Aoi's bag showing that he is someone that he has been thinking of and is somebody that is important in his life that he already knows his name. So this really should not be working. This is one of the most toxic relationships you can have. The only thing that they have in common is the fact that Hachi has an attraction for Aoi's body. Other than that, they should not even be talking. Like, holy moly, this is like really bad. And if just playing with his tail and barely learning his name wasn't bad enough, Hachi straight up just starts to use Aoi's body for his temperature because he's getting really overheated. It's really hot and stuffy in Japan during summer, and the fact that Aoi is a cold-blooded lizard, he's able to use them to cool down. And it leads to a whole cuddling scene, which Aoi seems to be enjoying. It's still kind of scary because it's like, wow, you really are just using him for his body. Like, it's actually crazy. Within this part of the comic, you start to notice that the square boxes that represent the internal monologue don't belong to Hachi anymore. They actually belong to Aoi. He just starts talking about how he's been here for a month and he's actually spent a lot of time with Hachi, and it's actually probably one of the best parts of his day. I'm not gonna lie, one of my favorite characters is this Fox dude because of just how interruptive he is in their relationship, and they really portray that in how they actually organize the comic page. Like, it's just Hachi and Aoi and just a fat ass speech bubble, just yo, and then it just traces down to the middle of the page, and he doesn't even have a panel frame. He actually splits Hachi and Aoi. He doesn't even have a panel frame. He just actually just splits the panels in half. So yeah, there's a school down the way, Furry High, that has tons of cute girls. We're having a little co-ed karaoke party, and Hachi's just like not interested. Men only. Don't girls are not allowed. Like in this little panel, like Haji's like, besides karaoke is loud and annoying, and I don't care about girls. And I always like throwing the craziest side eye of like, oh my god, I'm in. But we go back to our regularly scheduled Hachi being super toxic, like crazy toxic. He literally jumps in front of Aoi, doesn't let him make his own decisions, and goes, he's not interested either. Like, it was like, holy moly, like, wow. Stop, bro. As toxic as Hachi is, it's not as bad as what Aoi used to deal with. When Fox Dude starts to ask Hachi if they're friends or not, it immediately sends him back to a terrible flashback of him getting bullied. And you can tell it's a dark place in his life because of the comic page itself. Instead of the normal white background, we have a black background. But things seem much brighter with Hachi. He's honestly having more fun and is honestly just starting to let his barriers down. And the thing is that so is Hachi, to the point where he's experiencing new feelings, where he's getting conflicted, and Hachi's flustering leads to one of my favorite transitions in any kind of media, where the character is having an obvious thought but is not saying it explicitly, and it's not until a character or a thing from another time and place is saying it, so it goes from action to action, or it goes from scene to action. And from here, it's just Hachi holding Aoi, and then the dog going, I just can't stop thinking about it. And I love these kinds of transitions, and I feel like they really make comics. The honeymoon phase is ended pretty quickly when these three dogs want to do something innocent because Aoi is just a friend and they want to hang out with him, and Hachi's just been gatekeeping him. But it leads to Hachi really discovering his emotions and going from not anything bugging him to one thing, one thing that shouldn't be seen as a big thing at all, absolutely destroying his mental. And from there, just each moment that Hachi just thinks about it, he just gets angry and angrier. And it's really hard for Hachi to really understand his feelings because his entire life he hasn't cared about anything. So now that he's just getting flusters of emotions, he just doesn't know how to handle them. And he handles them in the absolutely worst way possible. He literally just assaults Aoi. Like, he literally just pins him down, and we get this crazy, crazy, crazy ass panel of Aoi just crying. And it's like, holy moly, dude. Hachi is not a good guy. Not a good guy at all. For these pages, all the speech bubbles are really short and sweet because it wants to let the audience really process what's happening, more of the action than the thought. But most of the speech bubbles aren't speech bubbles, they're thought bubbles because it's mainly just action. Aoi, this isn't the first time Aoi's gone through something like this, and last time he just put a fake smile on and it worked for a while, so he's back to just putting on a fake smile. Well, Hachi has never been through anything like this before, so he's just completely shocked and doesn't know what to do. So he's just rerunning the scene in his head over and over and over again, and is just super conflicted and just doesn't know what to do. So Hachi's completely lost until Fox Dude steps back into the picture because he's pretty curious on what happened too. And then the next two pages are my favorite pages in the book, so I just want to read them. Aoi is usually so polite, and you don't give a flip about anything. How'd you even find something to fight about? It wasn't a fight. And what was it? I bit him. Bit him? I don't understand why I did it either, okay? It's not like I hate him. I was just, I don't know, annoyed. He was hanging out with the other guys, having fun. It just didn't seem right. I'm so confused. You know, I can't stop thinking about him and. Okay. So you're crushing on him? You are? Why are you asking me? You said it. Yeah, but seriously? The comic then finishes with a long apology, with an admission of love, and a walking into the sunset ending. Nothing really crazy happens. I feel like the craziest was already behind us with the climax. But overall, I feel like it was a very snappy ending. It's because it has to all stick into one volume, and especially after the crazy thing that happened, I feel like one talk definitely isn't enough. But they seem like they'll work through it, and I think that's why they ended with hand holding instead of anything crazier, because it's showing that it's still just the beginning. Overall, the comic book utilizes multiple techniques from action cutaways to all-around alteration of the page itself to convey messages. The only criticism I would have is the complete absence of color. I do wish they would have provided color, such as the style that the comic Sin City does it, where the only color visible is red. And in this situation, they would make it so the only color you can see is blue. Personally, this comic was an absolutely crazy change of pace for what I usually read, which is why I was so attracted towards it. Monotone Blue was a sweet read that tackled very serious subjects, most of which I cut from this video. Please read Monotone Blue if you're interested in it at all, because I only focused on what I felt were the main beats of the story. But overall, the book was a fun read, and I hope to read more like it.